And even though we developed a search engine before Google, and even though we had offers from Microsoft, still I was dissatisfied. We will not follow a career, but a calling. And then I experienced something that absolutely changed my life from then on. For all those who do not know what we are doing and what we have actually achieved, maybe you're totally new here on the channel. We have been involved in AI development and research for over 25 years. We developed search engines on the PC before Google was around. Then came a VPN, secure email, Teleguard Messenger, and among other things, the alternative cryptocurrency Edelcoin. And we are talking about a total volume of over 40 million users. People often ask me how this idea came about. How did I realize myself at this point? Everything we did today did not come into being because suddenly there was just some idea. It started when I was 15 years old. I am Russian-German and I come from Kazakhstan. When I was at school, 15 years old, it was very clear to me what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a space explorer, and it all worked out wonderfully. I had great grades in school, and I had an invitation to a first mathematical school in Kazakhstan. Everything would go well. But at that very moment in 1989, for me it was quite sudden. The permission came that we could move to Germany. And it was at that time that so many Russian Germans found their way to Germany. I don't remember how many millions went that way, but we were amongst them. For me, this was anything but favorable. I was quite dissatisfied and didn't want to go because I knew that all I had planned, everything that lay ahead of me would collapse like a house of cards. What am I supposed to do here? I don't know Germany. I didn't know what would happen to me. I didn't speak the language. I didn't know what to do next. People were talking to me and I didn't understand anything. It was absolutely frustrating, and I suddenly felt a certain, I don't want to say fear inside, but it was as if I was hanging in the air somewhere and I didn't know what would happen to me. Then I had a dream, and that absolutely changed my life from there. In this dream, I dreamed I'm walking out of a city and I'm on a hill. And my city is somewhere down in a valley. I turned around and I looked down at my city from above, as if saying goodbye to the city. I had the choice to return or continue to climb and continue along the way. But there was a fog in front of me, so I didn't know where I was going. The moment I saw the city for the last time, I turned around and virtually walked into the fog. From that moment on, suddenly everything was dark. It was sudden. It was as if someone had turned off the light switch. It was dark. And I didn't understand where am I now. The only thing I saw in between was that it started to get really mountainous and I started climbing without understanding where. And at one point it was so steep that I had to literally hang to climb up. And at that moment, suddenly, a thunderstorm came and then rain came. I was really terrified. And at some point when I was climbing, when I was already higher, some huge birds came. Huge. They were so huge and they tried to push me down. I don't remember if I was crying by then or not, but it was brutal. I kept climbing and it kept going up. And suddenly, it was really sudden, as if someone had really turned on the light, I saw grass. For the first time, it was so green. I had never seen it like that here on Earth. It was green. It was really beautiful. A rain of sunlight came from the side. And all the clouds that were there a moment ago had all dispersed within a few seconds. And at that moment, we went to the edge, and then I got really scared. I saw huge mountains. They were like these Swiss Alps, but they looked so small. Yet, I knew that each one of them was probably 2.5, 3,000, 4,000 meters high because they were all covered with snow, all of them. And I thought, wow. And I looked around and nowhere else was there a mountain higher than the mountain I was on. I was surprised that there was grass on the mountain where I was. But down there, everything was covered with snow. And I'm on the mountain where there's really nice grass. But the moment I turned around, I suddenly realized there was a person standing there. I saw an old man. He was shining really brightly. He had long hair and a long beard down the ground and a long robe. Without him saying a word, I understand that I had to follow him. On this plateau where there was nothing before, suddenly there was a house, a beautiful house with columns. The house had a beautiful semicircular dome on top, and in the middle I saw a potter's wheel. And without the man saying anything to me, I understood again. I just have to sit down and do something. There was a piece of clay. It was so little. I sat down, and the moment I sat down, everything was dark again. There was thunder and lightning again. At that moment, I woke up. I was shaking. I was wet. I was soaked in wet. And the moment I understood that this was a dream, I knew one thing very clearly. It was a message. Because I had never had a dream like that in my life. I knew that someone I would have described as God had a message for me. And I didn't know what that message was. I began to ponder, what could it be? Because at that time I was searching for what I should become. And then I began to look for this career, this calling. And then in 2014, it became very clear to me. God, as I would call him, told me very clearly that we should build an ecosystem on biblical values. No surveillance, no pornography, and no violence. And we were absolutely shocked at first. I also shared this with my wife. And then it was clear to us that we should put everything we had done so far, all the finances we had, on the altar. And then we launched the first Google alternative search engine. The press said, "What for?" Many people asked me, "What for?" And I asked myself, "What for?" Later, when Snowden made the issue of surveillance public, the newspapers suddenly said that Google had just been caught again monitoring and manipulating people. Later we thought to ourselves, wow. And during this time we developed so many products that you now hear about all over the world. But this was not planned according to a business plan. We hadn't prepared this. We didn't think, okay, we're going to make this product now because the world needs it and we could make money with it. Not at all. That wasn't the issue. The issue was, we had understood that we needed to build this ecosystem to protect people in the digital space. That was it. It was not about money. During this time that I'm living on this earth, it is so important for me to understand what my calling is. So, as human beings, we should do everything possible, not to chase money, but to chase our calling. To every man, every woman, wherever you are right now, you're hanging in the air somewhere. It's not clear where you're going. It seems like everything has fallen apart, everything. Maybe it's family or your work, possibly disease, whatever. At this point, I just want to pass on a message because I have experienced this so many times. Whenever you think nothing is happening or you can't go on, there is someone who still prepares a way for you. And that's how I became who I am today, because I trusted. That means, if you're a teenager and you don't know what you want to be, it's okay. The important thing is that you know that someone called God certainly has a plan for you. It's very clear that He has one. You didn't just somehow came into being in this world just like that. Nothing is programmed without the intention of the program then being executed for a specific purpose. This means that we do not live on this planet just like that, not at the whim of nature, but it is quite clear that there is a plan for everyone and for you too. That is to say, no matter where you are, you're hanging somewhere. You cannot find yourself. You're sick. You're in addiction. It doesn't matter. There is a way out for sure.